The movie opens in Benjurdis village, East Java, at a female Islamic boarding school. Dawn prayers are held in the boarding school mosque where all of the staff and students congregate. When Herlina, a girl, goes to her room to get the Quran, she ends up dozing off. Later, as a result of Herlina's behavior, teacher Ayu assigns the girls in the class to clean the shed, the restroom, and the yard. When Herlina comes and offers her an apology, Ayu dismisses her justification and gives the order for everyone to begin cleaning. Herlina irritates Obi and her pals Dilla and Sidi, who decide to discipline her by telling Herlina's friends to go. Given that Herlina has only been there for a month and is still getting used to the place, Ranan tells Obi not to do this. Obi maintains that their class was the greatest in the school, but that they have been punished since Herlina missed prayers since she arrived. On the other hand, Obi and her pals eventually go after being convinced by Ranam. Herlina confides that everyone at the school despises her when her mother Devi pays her a visit later. Devi tells her that after they get to know her better, the others will like her. Ranam is the only student, according to Herlina, who treats her well. The other students are cruel. Devi advises Herlina to give it a shot for a semester and let her father know if she's still not comfortable. It is at that point that they witness Obi's father berating her and inquiring as to why she was punished. He tells her that he doesn't need any more hassle from her because he already has a lot on his plate. Devi informs Herlina's father later that evening that although Herlina is now more obedient, she feels as though she doesn't belong there and that it could be time for her to return home. But Sapto queries what she can learn in a month at the institution. He advises extending her stay because she requires guidance. Herlina is informed by Ranam that she is heading to the mosque and is asked if she would like to accompany her. Herlina concurs but adds that she must first get dressed, and Ranam leaves saying she will wait in the wudu room. After some time, Herlina is confronted by Obi and Dilla, who accuse her of talking negatively about them to Ayu. Herlina is confused and says nothing, but they still torment her. Herlina is informed by Obi that she is not interested in hearing from her. Herlina tries to run away, but they capture her and fling her to the ground, burning her hand in the process. Then Obi grabs the hot iron and makes a threat to burn her face. Herlina, terrified, tries to run away once more, but the girls follow and capture her before she can make a help call. They pull her into the bathroom, where Obi tortures her by dousing her in cold water, while Dilla submerges her hand in a bucket of filthy water. Herlina escapes once more and makes it to the road, where she is struck by a car and runs over. The action then moves to the hospital, where Devi and Sapto are distressed to see Herlina's state. After observing her burned hand, Sapto comments that Herlina's injuries is not related to the vehicle accident. He approaches the professors, questioning how they missed his daughter's burn injuries and how she was able to be outside her dorm so late at night. Darrows acknowledges their mistake and extends his apology. Sapto lashes out, telling them angrily that he sent his daughter to their boarding school to better her, not to allow her to be harmed or harassed. As we observe, Obi and her pals ask Ranam the following day if they should pay Herlina a visit, as Herlina passing away in the hospital. A week later, Herlina shows up at the boarding school out of the blue, shocking Ranam, Obi, and her classmates. Later on, Herlina's professors talk about how important it is to find out what happened that evening, but Ayu advises they give her more time. When Jafar says he thinks some of her classmates have been bullying her, Ayu tells him not to think bad of the children. She goes on to say that even if Darrows is teaching at another school, they still need to keep a closer eye on the pupils to avoid any more events similar to Herlina's, since it would harm the school's reputation. Ayu sees Herlina staring at her during class that evening. Ayu is astonished and scared when Herlina suddenly appears next to her before vanishes, and another teacher named Indri emerges. Herlina replies to Ranam's question about whether she wants to talk to the teachers or herself about that night after class by telling him not to worry and adding, "No bad deed goes unpunished," during his nighttime patrol of the compound. Obi discovers Sidi standing in the restroom. When she approaches her, Obi is shocked to see Sidi in a demonic form after calling out to her without getting a response. Screaming in terror, Obi rushes to the teachers to ask for assistance, but the lights flicker and no one answers the door. Soon after, Sidi makes her appearance and attacks Obi. Obi notices Herlina's enraged visage in the demonic form. At that moment, Ghani emerges and tries to step in, but Sidi pushes him away. Then, Sidi approaches Ghani and tries to strangle him. However, Ghani puts his palm on her head and starts to pray. When he questions the entity, it discloses that it is Satan. Subsequently, Dilla tells Obi that Ghani has exorcised the demon. Obi responds that she is still afraid and discloses that, during her possession, she saw Herlina's face rather than City's. When Ranum and the other girls visit Obi the following day, she recognizes Herlina's face in City's and becomes frightened once more. She requests privacy and requests that Ranum take City away, stating that Herlina should be taken out instead of City. When Indri arrives and hears the disturbance, she attempts to soothe Obi, but he won't stop, insisting that it's Herlina and not City. Later, Herlina's voice abruptly becomes evil as we witness Ranum and her reading the Quran together. Herlina gives Ranum a look and tells her to go on. City questions Ranum in the morning about who she recited the Quran with the night before. It was Herlina, says Ranum in response. City queries her since she believed Herlina was unable of reading. When she inquires as to Herlina's current location, Ranum replies that she is still in bed. They're startled to discover Herlin sitting in the mosque already and staring at them, though. Afterwards, City informs Ranum that Herlina's return has not been well. She said that Herlina can even recite the Quran and that she is now always on time and smiling. When they finally see Herlina approaching them, it scares City. Herlina simply gives them a spooky smile and turns to go. Afterwards, when Ranum goes back to her room, she is startled to see Herlina acting strangely. Before she can make sense of it, Herlina pauses and turns to face her. Fearful, Ranum queries her actions, to which Herlina replies that it is her responsibility to inquire as to why she is merely standing there observing. Later, when Ranum goes with Obi to evening prayers, she happens to spot Herlina meandering around. Before it gets dark, the lights in the mosque begin to flicker. Despite her fear, Obi keeps praying. She is startled to see that she's facing the other way when she stands up. She instantly turns around and begins to pray again, only to discover that her posture has shifted once more. Fearful, Obi hears a demonic voice, but when she looks about to make sure it's her, Herlina suddenly comes to haunt her. When Ranum hears Obi scream, he rushes back to her and discovers that Obi is praying in the incorrect direction. When confused, Ranum goes to check on her and is horrified to learn that Obi has passed away. When City begs Ranum to be her roommate again the following day, Ranum says yes. When they go to their room, Dilla blames Ranum of abandoning Obi and puts the blame for her death on her. Ranum replies that she regrets it terribly and that she will always remember being the last person to see Obi alive and the first to discover her dead. City steps in and says that she doesn't want to lose any more friends and that they are all missing Obi. Later on in the evening, Ranum is seen dozing off in City's chamber. But to her surprise, upon awakening, she finds herself in Herlina's chamber. Seated on her bed's edge, Herlina inquires as to why she is unable to go asleep. Herlina then gets out of bed and shouts out for Ranum, but terror prevents Ranum from answering, and after a while, when Ranum turns around, she discovers that Herlina has vanished. City discovers that Ranum is not in her bed in the interim. Bewildered, she informs Dilla that Ranum has vanished, and together they make the decision to search for her. When they go to Herlina's room to look for her, they discover that nobody is there. They keep looking for Ranum, and eventually Dilla is surprised to learn that City has vanished as well. After that, Dilla hears a demonic voice and attempts to flee, but it keeps coming, and then she sees Herlina. When Dilla calms down, she asks where City is. Ranum tries to comfort her, telling her that it's her. Ranum urges Dilla to find Ghani and says she will look for City. City flees in terror as a result of Herlina's haunting her in the meantime. She dashes to the mosque where she sees students praying, but as soon as she senses something is off, her terror intensifies. Before she can comprehend what's happening, a fabric starts to fly towards her as all of the students turn to stare at her. As soon as Ranum gets to the mosque, attempts to calm City down just in time, but City realizes that the mosque is now empty. Dilla, on the other hand, goes to see Ghani and begs for his assistance, but he gets no answer. She walks over to try to rouse him up, but as she does, she feels like Herlina is behind her, and when she turns around, she discovers that Ghani has vanished. As she tries to escape, the door slams shut and the room's lights start to flicker. After some time, she hears Herlina's voice, but when she looks around, she doesn't see anyone. Suddenly, there is a loud knock on the door. She retreats in terror, and Herlina suddenly assaults her. It's only when Herlina drags Dilla into the shadows that Ranum and City discover Dilla wailing outside of Ghani's chamber. Ayu and Indri, in the meantime, leave the house after hearing Dilla cry and go in search of her. They eventually locate Dilla at the mosque, exactly where Obi was last seen. The other pupils are stunned to learn that she is dead as Ayu and Indri rush to her. When Ranam and City eventually get there, Ranam sees Herlina lurking in a corner with a creepy smile. Afterwards, Ghani informs Jafar that the pupils must be sent home right now. Although Ghani maintains that Darius will endorse the decision to send the students home because of the situation, Jafar proposes holding off until Darius returns. Ranam reports that there seems to be a connection between Herlina and the fatalities to City and Ranam when they arrive. When Ghani demands further information, City clarifies that they witnessed Herlina attacking Dilla in the teacher's room. It is then requested of all the students that, for their own protection, they congregate in the mosque and spend the night there. But Herlina can be seen laying close to Ranam, grinning eerily at her. When Herlina shouts out Ranam's name, turns to see City standing next to her and she asks to accompany her to the restroom. Ranam consents and stands outside the restroom as City enters. When we enter, we discover Herlina is already inside. City gets a little scared when she hears the sound of the door opening after a time, but she thinks it might be Ranam. City, however, passes by Ranam in silence as she waits outside. Ranam abruptly turns to follow City after spotting her. When she finally locates City standing in a spot, she goes to ask her what she is doing, but just then, City surprises her by emerging from behind Ranam, and the person Ranam initially believed to be City turns out to be Herlina. This is followed by both Ranam and City fleeing in terror, only to reappear in the same location. Herlina suddenly catches hold of City's leg. Ghani and Jafar run to her aid and are able to free her from Herlina's grasp. After confronting the entity, Ghani learns that it is an Islamic jinn and a servant of God. When Ghani commands it to exit Herlina's body, the entity argues that someone called it in order to destroy those nasty people. The jinn asks Ghani to give it a try, but he refuses and threatens to destroy it with the words of God. When Ghani accepts the challenge and starts saying prayers, he is horrified to see that the jinn also begins repeating prayers with him. He strikes the jinn with his tasbih out of fury, but to his surprise, the jinn laughs and emerges from behind him before vanishing. It reappears before him shortly after that, and Herlina's parents don't get there till then. The jinn don't know Devi, even when she runs to her and assures her that she is her mother. It is now discovered that Devi, Herlina's mother, was driving the automobile in which Herlina was involved in the collision. Devi had mistakenly thought she had struck a pile of wood instead of Herlina. Devi is abruptly pulled into the shadows by the jinn, and before anyone can say anything, Devi's corpse is hurtling in their direction. The jinn overwhelms Ghani and Jafar in their attempt to subdue it, and as it prepares to assault City, Darius steps in, grasping its leg and hurling it to the ground. Herlina is subjected to an exorcism by Darius, assisted by Ghani and Jafar, and the jinn fights valiantly to get away from them. It is discovered that Sapto had given the physicians orders to keep Herlina's death a secret from everyone, particularly from her mother, during the exorcism. Sapto brought Herlina to a shaman and promised to do anything in exchange for the shaman's assistance in bringing her back to life. The shaman told him that Herlina's death would have to be avenged and that nothing could break the enchantment. With her own hands, Sapto had driven a nail into her daughter's head in order to bring her back to life and exact retribution on those who had caused her illness. When Sapto rips the nail out of Herlina's head in an attempt to aid Darius, the jinn leaves her body and Herlina transforms back into a corpse. A few days later, Sapto is sitting by himself at home when he hears a tap on the door. The shaman answers and informs him that he was instructed not to remove the nail before the task was completed. After the shaman lowers the nail, Sapto is horrified to discover Herlina standing in front of him. That is where the movie ends. To ensure you never miss any updates on new videos, kindly click the bell icon, subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.